live and online. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Back and better than ever, Sleepless with Steve. We're live on YouTube in living color. The gang is all back together. Dominic Guanzon returned from his strike. We worked out the parameters of the union, and all is well and all is stable. Stable with Steve live.
I see Local 6'9".
Good to be with you on this evening. There's no real justification for my background choice, other than that, the fact that it's sunny. I've got my window over here in my new apartment. I put a bed sheet on it to kind of block the glare, so it doesn't look too bad as it did last week. But if anybody lives in the Midwest this week, they know it is hotter than Heather Locklear in the original Firestarter movie this week. It is hot, man. It is like 90. What is it back home? Because it's about 93 out here now.
91, I would say.
Oh, so it's cooler.
Yeah.
It's a little cooler. Man, it's
You're not
miserable.
wrong.
It's miserable. It went from like 40 to 90 in the span of 5 days. It went right from like belated winter to summer with no warning whatsoever. So I've got a few days to battle this, but my air conditioner's working real nice, working overtime. You know what my air conditioner, I thought of this morning when I woke up. This was a Steve getting ready for work at 5:45 in the morning thought this morning. You know what my air conditioner and Bruce Springsteen have in common?
No.
They were born to run.
Oh my God.
God damn it.
And that's exactly what this thing is doing and going to be doing till October as far as I'm concerned. But good to be with you. Come to you live in the living color, as I like to say every Wednesday evening. Today, we got two big topics because they could rightfully wind up being two of the biggest movies of the year. We are reviewing Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the new Marvel movie, the latest Marvel movie. And then we are also talking about Avatar, The Way of Water. Yes, this is no longer Avatar 2. We're still going to colloquially refer to it as Avatar 2, but it's got a subtitle and it's got a trailer. So we think it's coming in December. I don't want to make any sweeping promises, but we do think it is actually going to see a release. It was a good thing that this movie was not like Food Fight and this thing was actually getting made. But we are going to touch on that coming up towards the end of the show. In the meantime, Dominic, how are you? We missed you last week, man. How was your Mother's Day and how's your week been?
Mother's Day was good. Called my family in the Philippines. Called my cousin because my grandmother of 80 plus years old does not have Facebook, thankfully. But yeah, called her in the morning because there's a 12-hour time difference or so, 13 or 14-hour time difference. Just said hi. And she's doing good. My grandmother's doing well, as well as my aunt. And then went out to dinner with my family on Mother's Day itself. We went to Tarasi in downtown. Oh gosh, Westmont. Right there.
Okay, all right. I was thinking, I'm like, is that the same one? Okay,
yeah,
nice.
Tarasi, the next generation. That I always say that. I can't not say that. But it's damn good pasta. Not gonna lie. Shout out to Tarasi.
Yeah, Tarasi used to be, and that's why I squinted at first because I didn't think of it. Tarasi used to be a restaurant called Vincitori, if I'm not mistaken. That was in downtown.
That's what
Westmont.
my uncle was saying. Yeah, that's what my uncle was saying. He was like, I thought this was something else. This seems new. And,
my graduation dinner was at that place, Vincitori.
Okay.
Vincitori, I used to know the owner before he sold, or the main chef / owner before he sold it. Yeah, I haven't been in there. Good food?
Oh yeah, they make the pasta fresh every time, so it's you can taste the difference, and it's heavy Italian. It's a step up from Carrabba's, and I like Carrabba's. So
I'm not huge on Italian food. Sue me, Joe. I'm not huge on Italian food. It's a little rich for my blood. He's hot.
And I think I was going to invite you over to my mom's sometime to have some dinner.
Oh, I'll eat it. Don't get me wrong. I'm sure the Viso's got that good cook. Got that good
Joe,
cooking.
What part of Italy?
It's actually both sides of the family. My mom and my dad's, they're from Sicily.
But Sicilian. Okay,
yeah, so
gotcha. Okay.
So I do like northern Italian cooking. Don't get me wrong, but like I grew up on the southern stuff.
And when southern, that's like, is that the more well-known stuff, like spaghetti and?
No, like that. The northern stuff and the southern stuff, like it both is pasta. if I had to best describe it, the northern stuff is known for like chicken parmesan, anything made with like meats and everything. The southern stuff, fish, yeah, famous Italian
that makes
like
sense.
fish
That
dishes,
makes sense. Yeah,
calamari, for example. There you go.
Good
my
stuff.
favorite.
To quote to quote the great rapper BMO Maine, when we go shopping, all that shit Italian, we Sicilian. Joe, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. I went to Oak Brook with my mom on Sunday. Had a good time. I had a very busy weekend, man. Like I'm glad it's Wednesday. It flew by because on Friday will be the last day for my class that I've been taking for this semester.
Here.
And then I have a break until June 16th. I desperately need that break too because I am burnt out. And last weekend, like, I had a project to do. I had Mother's Day. I had to go see Doctor Strange. I had to go. There was like so many other things to do. I celebrate Mother's Day on Tuesdays because parents are divorced. So that means you have to celebrate on 2 different days. One for one grandmother and stepmom on one side of the family. The other day for another grandmother and that mother's side of the family. So I did not get to relax at all last weekend. I mean, I guess I did get to relax while watching Strange, but it's just like I wanted time to at least like sleep in, sit down, maybe just like breathe in, breathe out, meditate, maybe.
Do nothing.
It's a working weekend.
Nothing. Yeah.
It really is Mother's Day. And not that I'm bad mouthing the holiday or
No,
anything.
no, I didn't take it like that either.
But yeah, there's some effort put into it.
No, it's true. You take dad to a ball game or something like that, but Mother's Day is the day that you go, you plan something. You know what I mean? You really plan like a good day. So I'm glad you guys got to do something, if not on the day, at least in general. So that does make me happy. But we've got a big show to talk about. Doctor Strange 2, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And I don't think even Marvel envisioned that they would have, and maybe I'll get some looks on this one. I know Dom hasn't seen this, so the only look I'm going to get is from Joe. It's the second best multiverse movie playing in most movie theaters now. I'm going to say that. It's the second best multiverse movie in theaters.
I knew that comment was going to come up. Yeah.
You know the other one. If you don't know now, you know. But this one, though, directed
Sonic
by
2.
Sam Raimi. This one, directed by Sam Raimi, Doctor Strange 2, is definitely has a vision behind it for the most part. You can tell. I think that this is probably the most idiosyncratic director, maybe not for lack of a better term. I would call it Sam Raimi pretty idiosyncratic, but probably the most unique and distinct director that Marvel has had on board for any of their projects with the MCU. I always said that the Russo brothers to me feel a little bit more like producers than they do directors. And a few others, there's been a few other directors who have had like, indie movie successes and then they jump to, or like lesser, successes, then they jump to Marvel. John Watts is a famous example, directed Cop Car. James Gunn's another one, directed Slither, and wrote the Scooby-Doo movies. Then that's how Marvel likes to get these guys, is like before they're truly expensive. Sam Raimi is probably the one who's had like, unless I'm forgetting one, which I very well might be, but Sam Raimi's been the guy who's had like an established career for several decades, has gone through multiple different sort of layers of his career. I mean, obviously started with the Evil Dead series, a lot of B horror movies too that are still fondly remembered for good reason today. Army of Darkness. Then he did the Spider-Man trilogy. So he's kind of like a founding father of like the quality superhero movie. Then he did Drag Me to Hell.
I was gonna agree with you. Like for the most part, it's been a long time since we've had a director like this come in. Because you're right, for the most part you'll get either somebody who's done smaller like studio films or independent films. John Watts, Ryan Coogler, for example. I mean, like he started off with like like Creed and everything, and then eventually Fruitvale Station, like studio movies that had a budget but not like a superhero movie or anything like that. We haven't seen someone like this be picked up by Marvel in a long time. Last time I can really think of is Kenneth Branagh when he directed Thor, because eventually he left and then Taika Waititi came in. And again, that's another one, indie films, What We Do in the Shadows, Hunt for the Wilder People, like more smaller films, and then eventually became bigger and bigger.
Well said. Yeah. Marvel's gone through a lot of directors, a lot of them very good, but Sam Raimi is kind of a different breed too, because he also brings a distinctive visual style too.
Oh yeah.
And I knew that this was a Sam Raimi movie. What finally made me realize this was a true Sam Raimi movie was probably the scene when Manhattan, very early on, when Manhattan gets destroyed by an eyeball with tentacles. And that was like a total kaiju monster style, like ripped out of Raimi's nightmares, I think.
Yeah.
And that was cool. I don't know if it's in the comics. Who the hell knows? But like, I didn't grow up reading Doctor Strange comics. I had friends, but but
jeez,
this I will say, this does have a vision behind it for the most part. It still plays sort of by the Marvel playbook, but there are a lot of really interesting things about this movie. I would say in terms of its characterization, specifically of one character in mind, and also in its visuals. With that, I'll turn it over to Joe. What say you about Doctor Strange 2? General impressions of Doctor Strange 2.
I mean, like, look, after leaving No Way Home and upon rewatching it, and the other day before this movie came out, that was probably my favorite movie they've done in this phase so far. I've been enjoying the shows they've been doing more, but the movies I haven't been too hot with. And even with No Way Home, I do have some issues with it, but overall, I think it's a very crowd-pleasing, fun time to watch. And like, if anything, just seeing them capture all those years of Spider-Man into one movie and make it work that well is an accomplishment. But I was really missing, like, damn, like, I just want to, get a Marvel movie that, we can get another director like they did in their first few movies, like they did with the first few Iron Man movies, where that felt like Jon Favreau's vision of a film and his style of filmmaking. I'm like, man, it'd be great to go see that. And when this was first announced that Sam Raimi was coming to do it, I'm like, okay, if there's a movie to do it, it's definitely this one. And I can safely say, after seeing this movie, yeah, not only is it like a Sam Raimi movie, like it's just Marvel gave him like the notes of this is everything that needs to happen, but feel free to tell it how you want. This is, as a Spider-Man fan, some people are probably gonna think I'm insane. This is my favorite movie Marvel has released this phase. I like this more than No Way Home. Yeah, I
know. This is coming. Yeah, coming. If there was coming from the Marvel stand, that makes sense.
Sure. Oh man, that's a take.
Yeah, I know.
That might be the
Steve and
hottest take of the year for Sleepless with Steve. It's early. It's very early in the year, and I haven't scratched the surface of the dumb crap I can say.
I've already had people like ask me, like, what was your favorite comic book movie this year? It's like, no, I think the Batman still holds that candle. Like, that to me is still like a stronger movie in like almost every way. But like in terms of just like comic book stuff and everything, it's like this is like, I mean, a close second for me. I had a blast watching this movie, man.
Dom, what say you?
Doctor Strange 2 has a lot going for it. It has a lot going for it. It has a lot. There's a lot going on. It's a lot. Jesus Christ. And I actually watched some of these shows. Hawkeye and Wanda Vision. Hawkeye didn't matter, but Hawkeye and Wanda Vision. And yeah, dude, it's the pacing is off the freaking wall. And I was like out of breath watching it, mentally out of breath. Just because we're getting to the point. This is probably the most Marvel movie to date. That's kind of a dumb take. Let me rephrase that. It's really capitalizing on
comic books,
referencing this and that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Bringing all that in, which, to be fair, that is the strength of this phenomenon, right? Never. Well, maybe I hesitate to say never, but at least to this level, we've never had massive $100 million plus budget movies being able to be again a continuous 30 plus movies. I don't know, 30 plus movie series, increasing numbers of television series as well, all in one extremely cohesive thing that's been going on since 2007, 8. So in a way that you're kind of capitalizing on the absolute your unique thing in the cultural and the annals of Hollywood history. But damn, is it really wearing on at least me, and I think for a lot of other people out there, because I was actually sitting, normally when people talk in a movie, unless it's like a Jordan Peele joint where it's like, okay, talk all you want because that's hilarious to me. I think that's funny. Like opening night on a Jordan Peele movie, that's funny. But for this, I actually had the incident of sitting next to I'm gonna assume they're a couple, but a dude and I'm assuming his girlfriend, like the girlfriend being clueless essentially, and then like the dude explaining everything. And at first, I thought I was gonna get annoyed by this because it's like, yeah, I know who Wanda is, I know this, but then I'm like, actually, no, wait, keep going. I was like, explain to me what's going on here because I didn't watch Doctor Strange 1, so that's on me.
Dom's like, your boyfriend's cool. Is he single?
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, it really came to a head, and I have a feeling Steve's going to say something similar when you had elements. I'm actually not well versed in Sam Raimi as a director. I've watched the Spider-Man trilogy. Okay, I've watched Evil Dead 1 and 2, but not Army of Darkness, which is like hilarious because I know Army of Darkness is like the most influential one. I think I've seen Quick and the Dead. I might be confusing it with Unforgiven. I don't even know. I need to watch those. I need to watch all of the Westerns again. I did watch Oz the Great and Powerful, which, man, 2013, that was the last thing he directed. Goodness.
Wow, I forgot that he did that one. Was that the last thing he directed?
Yeah. According to
I thought for the longest time it was Drag Me to Hell, but no, it is Oz the Great and the Powerful because then he just produced.
I knew he hadn't made a movie. I knew he hadn't made a movie in like at least 6 or 7 years, but I didn't know. I liked Oz the Great and Powerful. I almost forgot.
I didn't mind it.
Did that. I almost forgot that he did that. Yeah.
A little honestly, I could stand to watch it again just on the side for fun. But anyway, even with me not really knowing Raimi as a director that well and his trademarks and whatever, I could still tell when the Raimi moments were coming through, like his voice was coming through in spite of all the Marvel-ness, the MCU-ness being layered and layered and layered and layered on top. So in that sense, it was a conflict for me. Particularly ending. Jesus Christ. Not that it was well, it wasn't a bad ending. I'm just again, it's a technical thing, it's a pacing thing, it's a tonal thing, and I hesitate to say all over the place, but I felt a conflict that this movie did not want to have. It was a mistake to have in my opinion. So in that sense, that's my biggest takeaway from this film in terms of just overall MCU-ness. Like, yeah, sure, it's they're really going all out in the references, which is cool, and we're really advancing the plot. We're bringing people in here, but as a film first, that's what stuck out to me.
This is where I love our dynamic on this show because we got the comic super fan over here, in Joe, and I don't mean that disparagingly. I don't. You like what you like. I don't mean that in any. I'm just stating fact.
Yeah.
You got this comic super fan over here. You got almost like the mid-level fan in you, Dom, and then you got the person over here who's more of the critic than the comic fan, and has kind of been, I don't want to say increasingly turned off, but superhero fatigued in so many ways by these movies.
I'm feeling that.
And I keep saying that, like, I'm going to be choosier about which of these movies that I've seen. And I have, there's a handful I've missed and I don't care to watch. I'm probably not going to watch the new Thor movie because I haven't seen it. Thor is my one blind spot in this whole universe. I've never seen any of the Thor movies, shockingly. The Marvels movie, I don't really care to watch. And ask me again in 6 months about seeing Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, I think it's called. Ask me again in 6 months, I'll get back to you on that. But yeah, when it comes to like, well, this is like the point now too. I didn't get the feeling of No Way Home, this with No Way Home, but I guess you really don't know until you watch these movies. And now this is the problem that I kind of have now. And it's a problem that I have. I don't expect everybody, the Marvel fan's not going to have this problem. Joe's not going to have this problem. This is just the problem as me as a consumer that I have. The Marvel movies are reminding me of video games now, and not in the way you think. The Marvel movies are reminding me of video games now because it's getting harder and harder to pick up and play them, or just press play and watch them, because you have to be familiar with the half dozen TV series that come out every single year and stuff like that. And I got a full-time job. Like, the movie relies on you to be familiar with like Wanda Vision, and that's how I think these movies are going to wind up being. Is that like you're gonna need to have watched, like, what's the one on now? What is it? Moon Knight?
Yeah.
Whatever. It's that one. Like, you're gonna need to, having watched what was once thought of like supplemental reading material, That's going to become soon. That's now becoming integral to the plot of this thing. Now, I don't know if having watched WandaVision would have helped, because this Doctor Strange 2 seems very all over the place in general. I don't know if that would have helped, but it's gotten to the point now, kind of like video games in the modern day, where you have to be inundated with backstory coupled with plot and a working, spanning spin-off installments that, truth be told, have kind of eluded me since, I want to say, like Infinity War.
As somebody like, who has been watching the shows and everything, I feel like with this movie, yeah, if you watch WandaVision, I mean, there's one character, like, literally it's in the title of that show, too. You will probably understand more where Wanda's coming from and her motivation in this film compared to somebody who hasn't seen it. Now, I saw this movie with all my friends who have seen WandaVision, and one of their brothers came with who didn't end up watching it. The only show they've seen was Falcon, Winter Soldier, and Hawkeye. But he still felt like the movie, for the most part, it's like, it got you caught up to speed to where he's just like, well, I know that show exists, and I'm imagining, like, this is what the show kind of focused on. That being said, is that, like, while it skated on by for at least that viewer, I don't know how it could be with every viewer, and I don't know how it's going to be with every show comparison to the movie. Like, when we eventually get the new Blade movie and Moon Knight shows up in it for some reason, and like he brings like in all this elements and stuff of like Egyptian blah 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 blah, people are gonna be like, what the hell is going on? Like, compared to, like, it's just like with Wanda, it's like they kind of fill you in, but like how much of the shows are really gonna start affecting the movies is a concern I do have as a fan, because you know what, you bring up a good point. If I have to explain this to like everybody, like, okay, no, but now in order to understand Avengers 5 or 6, whatever we're gonna be on, you have to go and watch WandaVision, this, you have to go read this, you have to watch this show, but then you have to go watch the Disney Plus original holiday special of Guardians of the Galaxy, and then go watch Guardians of the Galaxy 3. It's just like,
And then you gotta watch it in reverse, like Memento, to really understand the subtextual elements. Like the Star Wars, for as big as the Star Wars universe is, because you remember when we were kids, there was all, and there probably still are, those Star Wars paperback books that were coming out.
The
That
Legends.
was the definition of like supplemental reading material.
Yeah.
You did not need to read those in order to, and granted, a book is, more of a lean forward than a lean back experience, truthfully, but you didn't need that supplemental. I keep going back to this phrase, this sort of like, other, spin-off thing in order to contextualize. The movies were their own freestanding thing. Maybe there were character elements and stuff, but it wasn't predicated on that.
And this goes back to what Dom even said, that this is the most comic book thing, because it is very comic booky how, some stuff is brought up in this film. It's just like, oh, why is this character here? Is it the same character from those movies? No, it is the same actor, but if you're familiar with the character, you'll understand why they're doing this and blah, 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 blah. Like, it's just like, when I told people, like, because I explained this to a few people that did go see this movie, my mom and my dad and my stepmom, and, like, I explained to them, like, some of the things. I'm like, oh, that character's from this, but, like, you didn't have to watch it. It's just, like, they're just there for an appearance and, like, a little reference and just kind of one showing more of the multiverse thing. Again, I feel like this movie, like, while it does that and it's cool and it, like, for fans of Marvel, it's like a cool sight to see. I feel like too, it is kind of shooting itself in the foot in some ways, because for people who aren't watching every Marvel movie like you guys are, and didn't see the first Doctor Strange, Steve, you don't watch every Thor movie and everything, you might see a character pop up in this and be like, okay, am I supposed to know who this person is? Because I didn't see...
You just be unmoved.
Yeah, and just be like, I didn't see the last, like, whatever so movies, like, am I supposed to know who this is? Okay, like, they just did something with this character, am I supposed to be shocked by this? And it's just like, when I told people, no, it was just like a cameo, they were just like, oh, what the hell? But I thought, like, the way it was being, and I'm just like, damn, like, I do get that. I will say, like, why I like this movie a lot is because of Sam Raimi. Like, Sam Raimi is, like, probably the reason why I'll give it the rating at the end of the day. If it wasn't for him, it'd probably be, like, half a star lower. It's because of him, and I really like what he did with Doctor Strange here. It reminded me a lot what he did with Tobey Maguire in the Spider-Man trilogy, where he does really focus on an element of Doctor Strange that you see throughout these movies, which is like he always wants to be in control because he's a wizard. He's so powerful and everything. Like, hey, yeah, Peter, I can do this spell for you and make everybody forget who you are, because you know what? I'm Doctor Strange. I can do it. And
his own arrogance.
Yeah, his own arrogance. And I think this movie did a great job doing that, but it also did a great job as well doing the exact same thing with the villain in this movie, who is also a very powerful magic wielder in these movies, and is very much caught up in their own arrogance of getting it their way, and something that was explored in a previous movie or previous show. And I was just like, damn, right there, it's just like, this is why I love Sam Raimi. I thought he did a great job just doing that storyline in general. The visuals are on point, and god damn, Danny Elfman's score killed it in this movie, man. There is literally a musical fight in this movie, and it was awesome.
I was about to say, it almost killed Doctor Strange.
The notes came to life.
Like, I like, those three elements is why I ended up loving this movie. Now, if you would ask me, like, oh, did you love seeing the cameos and everything? Sure, yeah. But if I didn't get those in this movie, and there are some fans out there, and for those of you who are like, man, I can't wait for Deadpool to show up, I can't wait for Ghost Rider to show up, I can't wait for this to show up, slow your horses, it's not that kind of movie. It ain't a clip show.
It was getting there. It was getting there, honestly.
Oh, for you felt like it was getting there. Okay.
It was getting there, and it was like, I was almost getting like annoyed by it, just because there's one scene where they're just like full on this. Here's that fan favorite character. And, you know, there's a small part of me that does think it's cool. But at this point, so it's just an exhausting movie. And
my favorite cameo was the Pizza Papa.
Pizza Papa.
That was my favorite cameo.
I'll compare it to No Way Home, and why I prefer No Way Home over this is that No Way Home had the luxury of all of its references and all of its callbacks being spread out over literally 5 other films from like over decades of work from Sam Raimi.
And it's still, all those characters are from one character. They're all from Spider-Man.
Whereas in this film, we are looking into, dimensions left and right, and they're about as paper thin as just the references of, hey, it's this character, but not.
We could say one because he's in the trailer, but look, I'll say it. Like, if you're trying to avoid spoilers, you shouldn't be watching this review in the first place. But I'll say because he's in the trailer. Yeah, when Charles Xavier shows up, I totally see what you're saying.
Yeah, and at that point, it was just wearing on me because it's definitely something that Marvel loves to wear on its sleeve. And again, it is kind of cool. Especially when you think that, man, we're really doing this after all this time. That is pretty nice. But yeah. But this is Marvel ain't the first one to do that. Network television's been doing that since forever. I think Shaft was on Columbo back in the 70s. I don't know. But it got to the point where I was like, we are having all of these cool moments, and they are cool, but I feel like we could have spent more time in some of them, and you could have maybe cut down on some others, and I don't want to do script surgery or anything, but like the music fight, for instance, that was so cool. And it happened in a flash to me. I was like, we could have had more time. This is Doctor Strange, right? He gets okay. What's exactly his power? He's not mental like Charles Xavier. No, he's more dimension. Magic. It's magic.
Yeah, it's just magic. He's a wizard.
Like a mythic. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Stuff like that. And it's like we could really you're leaning onto that on a visual level, which is great. I do like how that's like his trademark thing in the MCU. But to get into it on a deeper level, I'm speaking very abstractly here, but let me go to another example, which is Scarlet Witch. Wanda is a bona fide villain here, which is great. Yeah. One of the better villains, because she was literally a hero. Before we spent so much time with her
performance-wise too, she kills it compared to most villains' performances in these movies.
Elizabeth Olsen is probably the best performance in this movie.
100%. I was way more interested in her, and it does help that I did watch WandaVision. But even then, all of her horror. When I first heard about Multiverse of Madness being, Marvel's doing a horror movie, this isn't a horror movie. Not by a long shot. There are horror tributes and horror, cues and whatnot. There's one particularly bad jump scare that some people may, if you're not, I'm not a horror fan, but even I know it's like, if you get scared by this, you're definitely not a horror fan, where they're like in a tunnel and then she like just pops out of nowhere. I'm like, okay, come on. But I don't know. I feel like you could have spent more time on that. Like if you wanted a Marvel horror movie, you can do that. And it'd be really cool if you committed to that. Like, like, well, what if you actually got a Marvel movie that was like Jacob's Ladder-esque level? Like, how freaking out of this world would that be? Like, Jesus Christ. Again, maybe that's too against the grain for what Disney wants to do, and maybe I'm wishing for something that just isn't feasible. But maybe you get what I'm saying here, which is that at the end of the day, it is shackled by its Marvelness, something that is one of its greatest strengths here in 2022. Also was holding it back.
No, I can definitely agree with a lot of that. Where I appreciated this movie at its most is in a visual sense and a visual experience, because the very essence of Doctor Strange, you gotta, the first Doctor Strange movie is one of the more forgettable movies of the MCU. I give it a pretty positive review. It's not bad, it's just forgettable. And the thing that I don't like personally just about the Doctor Strange character, it's just a flaw with the character. I don't really know if anybody can mend this, but when you have a character like that's whole, sort of thesis is magic, you really get the sense that anything's possible and you can bend the rules however you want. And you really see it with this movie too. Like, you have multiple ongoing realities and it sort of diminishes the impact of like one reality. That's kind of, if you know what I'm saying there. But where I did appreciate this though was really in a visual sense, because Raimi doesn't hold back in showing the multiverse. And who really does great legwork here, he did the cinematography for Detective Pikachu as well, is John Matheson. John Matheson does a really good job at keeping up with the craziness, whereas even as batshit as this movie gets, it's clear. Like, you there is a sense, like there is a good visual sense of clarity happening throughout this movie, I thought. And that's not easy to do. And when you stitch it together and you keep it together with something as really delicious as Danny Elfman's score of this, Joe hit on that earlier. This Danny Elfman outdoes himself yet again with a fantastic score, which might be the single best element of this movie, in my opinion, is the music. Because Danny Elfman is still like one of those like really like classically minded composers, like real throwback to 80s synths, and without being overt about it, that I really loved. That's what I embraced the most about this movie too, was just the visual scheme, Sam Raimi's attention to giving like little flavors of horror. This is by no means a horror comic. It's got elements of a horror comic, but it's not, I would not consider this a horror movie in any sense of the word. But in a visual, in a composition sense, and definitely in a directorial, like auteur, if you will, sense, that's where I think this movie got a lot of my appreciation.
Credit where credit is due. There is a scene where there are some quick kills here in rapid succession, a la a slasher flick, and how those kills happen are freaking awesome. That was my favorite scene by far, where it's just, people are just getting murked. Like, dude, holy shit. And that was where I had the most fun.
Merkin season.
Yep.
Should we take a break here and then give our final thoughts?
Yeah.
Should we take a break here? I think we shall. Our Zoom sponsored intermission. Did Joe tell you real quick, since we have just a couple seconds? Did Joe tell you last week we were forced into a Zoom sponsored intermission inexplicably with just two people?
I did not.
Man,
know.
I don't know the rules anymore.
I don't know the rules either, because we just did a show without you like a month ago and we never had to take a break.
You know what was weird? There was one time I wasn't here for a show, but I tuned in while you guys were reviewing something, and I was like, that's weird. They have to take a break? I'm like, maybe Zoom changed their thing. And then Dom and I mean, you and I, Steve, we did our show, and then like we didn't have to take a break, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that was just a glitch. Then we had to take a break last week, and it was just like, thing doesn't know what it wants to do.
This is all. We're all using free. We're all using free version, right?
Yeah. I'm not like using my work account or anything. No.
The Zoom mods are just like, these jagoffs again. Clock's ticking. Live or die.
These
make
idiots.
your choice.
They're gonna talk about the Northman.
You know,
pull the plug.
Oh God, they're gonna get into the Weird Al trailer. Cut it.
They didn't give Everything Everywhere All at Once 4 stars. Cut the stream.
He does in his A24 shirt. And he's probably a card-carrying AAA 24 member.
Oh, speaking of which, hold on.
Oh, did you get it? Did you get it? Oh, now we're off the rails.
There it is.
Oh, very nice. Did you get your zine? I don't even know how you pronounce it. Magazine, zine, whatever they call them.
I got my tax season Oh, you can't see it because of the stupid camera filter. But yes, I got my tax season magazine, and I got my card to show whenever they have an event here in Chicago.
I don't know if you really took a look in that tax season guide yet. That
I did. I love
A24
it.
magazine. There is a list of places. Dom would appreciate this. What we're talking about, Dom, to give you insight, is these are the magazines that A24 releases. Like every 2 months, they get a director of their most recent film to write the magazine. And it's the
Oh,
Daniels of Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's why the magazine's called Tax Season. And there's a bunch of different like weird IRS facts and everything in this. It's a total weird magazine. There is a whole page where like the most popular places that are like considered offshore
Yeah.
accountants for like millionaires. They have a whole list of them with addresses and phone numbers.
They also have
okay.
like U.S. tax laws, like the like extremely specific tax laws in the for every state. And I had a ball just reading some of these, man.
They show, and they even have pictures of the buildings. Like they're like, this storefront at like 1740 Green Street Avenue in South Dakota is home to like over $1 billion in investment money.
What?
Like, I'm like, get their ass, Daniels, get their
Yeah.
ass.
Hey,
Okay.
A24. This thank you for sponsoring this Zoom intermission.
Thank you for sponsoring, man. I'm in hell of enjoying that magazine. We'll be back to give our final thoughts on Doctor Strange 2, and we will also touch on Avatar: The Way of the Water trailer. Don't go anywhere. A little off the rails tonight, but still kicking. It's Sleepless with Steve. Back and better than ever at Sleepless with Steve. We are giving our closing thoughts on Doctor Strange in the multiverse of madness. I can't get over this title. Even typing it out was exhausting. Doctor Strange in the multiverse of madness. Eventually, I was just using Control C, Control V when writing my review. But overall, though, I'm really happy, if nothing else, that they gave this movie to a director who had a vision and was allowed to, for the most part, you can tell, exercise that vision. I also, too, this is just totally random, but I also kind of appreciate it. I don't know if you guys felt the same way. I do think one commendable, underrated element about this movie that I didn't see coming was that it had a relatively quiet ending as opposed to a noisy one,
Yes.
which I didn't really expect with a Marvel movie. The ending was definitely more subdued, and I kind of like that. It was also pretty refreshing. And I won't spoil the cameos. I'll just say that Evil Dead fans should stay after the credits. That's all I'll say. But I guess you could consider this too the movie that where Sam Raimi drags us to hell's plural, and he absolutely makes a lot of the madness work. But I do think that there is a thickness here with the plot that sort of undermines the characters, especially some of the better work by like Xochitl Gomez and Benedict Wong too, as Wong. I think some of that, I think they do get kind of buried in this movie as well, but it's brought to life by the work of a director who's looking to do what he does best, and that is bring the weird and the wacky to the big screen. But it's a shame that he kind of got saddled with this script at the same time too. So it's a mixed bag for me. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I give it 2.5 out of 4 stars. We'll seg to Dom and then end with Joe.
It's a distinct movie from the rest of Marvel, which is both its strength and weakness at the same time. It almost hurts to see like, man, what if we could just go a little bit further in this direction? But again, I may be asking for the wrong thing at that point. How many movies are we in where I feel like I've levied that same critique over and over again. But you know what? I actually don't mind doing it just because at least I'll be consistent. But eventually some movie will come along. I do think where the Marvel shackles will slip and we will get something. I'm being dramatic. 2.5 out of 4 stars for me as well. It's not a bad movie, not by any means. If you're a Marvel stan, you will have so much fun, even up until the last cameo, or that mid-credits cameo was like, okay, sure, whatever.
Oh, dude, yeah, no, okay, I'll jump on that. That was stupid.
Yeah, just the way they did it was stupid as hell. I'm like, it's really like, I'm here. I was like, okay. I'm
so tired of those because it's just like they used to actually tease something pretty like interesting. It's like, ooh, okay,
yeah,
what was that? But now it's literally just become, I'm this character. Goodbye. It's just like,
yeah, honestly, that's the essence of my argument. Maybe not. No, but that certainly highlights one of my biggest pet peeves with this. And hey, look, it's the Multiverse of Madness. Hopefully this is the peak of whatever this is. But we'll see how it goes now. I am very curious. Is this, in terms of this, I'm totally trailing off, but is this the end of the phase of this phase?
No.
No, it's just getting started. It got started. Did Black Widow start it off?
Black Widow started it off.
Wow. We're still getting started with this. I think Guardians 3 is a part of this. Marvel's Ant-Man 3.
What?
I think Guardians 3 or Ant-Man is the end of this phase, or Blade, because they have Blade slated here, but like we still don't have anything other than like Mahershala Ali is Blade.
I'm going to punt it to Joe. Very last thing I guess I'll say is that I am curious, despite me being increasingly fatigued. I am very curious to see what could be the next Avengers movie, or like what, the next climax crescendo event here as we come along. But yeah, 2.5 out of 4. Some days I might be thinking I'm generous, other days maybe not. But Joe, I'll punt it to you.
Man, you think you're being generous, and here comes my rating. Sam Raimi is one of my favorite horror movie directors. Like, possibly like one of my favorite ever. I love the Evil Dead movies. I love Drag Me to Hell. I like his style. I think it's very cool. And hearing that he was going to be directing Doctor Strange 2, I said, now that is a better director for a Doctor Strange movie. No slide at Scott Derrickson. I love Sinister. I can't wait for The Black Phone. But I think just something about Raimi's visuals would just pair better with what I've seen in Doctor Strange's like comic panels. Never read them, but what I've seen his panels in terms of just freaky looking stuff, I'm like, yeah, Raimi's got that. And he shows it off here. I love his visual style for horror, and I think it was a perfect choice for him to adapt a Doctor Strange movie. And, to me, Benedict Cumberbatch and Elizabeth Olsen have been growing into these roles as these movies have gone along, especially Olsen, who has the juiciest role in this movie. And, I think kills it here in terms of performances. On top of that, you got Danny Elfman just doing what he does best. I feel like, for me, like fans of like Raimi movies and or Marvel movies, you have a treat here. This is a big win for you guys. For me, I had a blast with this. I loved it. I know they're looking at me because I said this is better than Spider-Man, but I really do feel that way. This to me is 3.5 out of 4 stars.
I wish I had a hat around here so I could really visualize Cap. That's Cap. That's Cap. I guess Zoom is considered an app, and the cap on this app right now. I always admire the gravitas and some of the legitimacy Joe can bring to these discussions. Real quick before we seg, looking at the Phase 4 lineup for Marvel, we have Black Widow, we have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which came out last. These all came out last year. Eternals, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange 2, which we just talked about. Then here's what's upcoming: Thor: Love and Thunder, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Guardians of the Galaxy The Holiday Special.
Oh, the Marvels.
The Marvels, and this site lists Fantastic Four as well.
Okay, all right. Well, I mean, with John Watts leaving, I don't
which
know about
doesn't
that.
have a director. Which doesn't have a director now. Fantastic Four might be Phase 5, maybe Phase 8 at the rate it's going, because that franchise is cursed when it wants to get brought to theaters. So we shall see on that. But, you know, I will say most of these interest me. I don't really care to see Thor. The only thing that might get my ass to see the Marvels is that Nia DaCosta's directing it, which is, again, going back to like a medium budget director who makes a splash with a medium to low budget movie, getting a spot to direct a Marvel movie. Nia DaCosta obviously directed Candyman last year. So that might be the only thing that gets my ass in the seat for the Marvels is Nia DaCosta. Although Chloe Chow didn't get it for me for Eternals, and I don't feel like I missed much.
And you did not miss a damn thing. And I felt so bad for Chloe Zhao, man. She got her money, but
girl got paid. I respect that. I respect the hustle. I respect, as Martin Lawrence once said, I respect the brothers' hustle. Avatar: The Way of Water. This thing actually does exist. It wasn't the greatest con job on the face of the earth. Let me give you perspective for just a moment. When Avatar came out, James Cameron was 54 years old. He's 67 now.
Jesus Christ.
That's how long it's been since Avatar came out. If you remember, it made over $2 billion with a B dollars, so there's a good chance that you saw it. Avatar came out back in 2009, and it was the most talked about movie, I want to say, for a whole ass year. If you remember that time, I remember Avatar still being in theaters in the summer, and this came out in the holiday season of 2009, and you don't get that very often. With an average of 2 movies coming out a weekend in America, stuff is in and out relatively quickly, and this was not near the day and age of streaming. Streaming really wasn't even a thing when the original Avatar came out. But like, when I think of movies that lingered long in theaters, I think of that. I think of obviously No Way Home. I think of Frozen. You know, movies that just would not go away. Pitch Perfect was another one. People forget how long that thing lasted in theaters as well. But Avatar was huge, rightfully. You really can't get much bigger. It's the highest grossing movie ever made. And it's been a running joke in the film community in some ways, not because of everybody loves James Cameron, but just the fact that the Avatar movies, have been teased. The sequels have been teased for so long. The original date for Avatar 2 was projected to be in 2014. That was when it was aiming for an original release. What I really liked was with the release of this trailer, I don't know if you guys saw this, what James Cameron said about the delays. I'll read a portion of the quote that I have pulled up here. He said, "I wouldn't call them delays. It was highly optimistic that we could start quickly until scripts are written. If there's no scripts, there's nothing. The scripts took 4 years. You can call that a delay, but it's not really a delay because the time we pushed the button to really go make the movies until now, we're clicking along perfectly. We're doing very well because of all the time that we had to develop the system and the pipeline and all of that." The main holdup for the Avatar sequels, and truthfully, we can chide this movie for being longer delayed than like Dr. Dre's Detox album or what have you. Like real ones remember that, but we can chide this movie for all we want. But the fact of the matter was there was always going to be an envisioned holdout with this movie because of the fact that James Cameron made abundantly clear even after the first Avatar came out. He said, what scares me at the moment is the technology is not really there for what I want to do with these sequels. Yeah. And that technology specifically is the underwater motion capture. That was what he wanted to do. This will be the first movie ever to feature underwater motion capture performance. The technology had to catch up with James Cameron's vision, which on that basis alone gets me a little bit excited for this thing. And I don't want to steal Joe's thunder because I want Joe's anecdote that he said in the green room. I want him to get the floor for that. Believe it or not, I don't know how this happened. I saw Doctor Strange 2 at an empty theater, so I didn't get any reaction to this thing whatsoever. But like, even some of my other friends that we've been talking about, even online, people have been kind of reinvigorated. Avatar, we always say, is the movie, and Scott Mendelson said this better than any of us could, the movie that made the most money but left no cultural footprint. But I think a lot of people are once again collectively excited about the visual experience and the visionary that James Cameron really is. We don't get a lot of James Cameron movies because he takes so long to develop them, often for good reason, because the guy owns 2 of the top 5 highest grossing movies ever made. And genre classics like Titanic and Terminator 2. But this Avatar trailer, I think, tells you that there is interest in what else can be done with this world. Even if we can't remember Zoe Saldana or Sam Worthington's character name, even if we can't really tell you the ins and outs of the world in which it takes place, or even really the plot of The Way of the Water, which you're not going to get much plot in the trailer, you might not be able to say those details, but a movie like Avatar is a beautiful big screen experience. And that's what The Way of Water looks like. I was kind of shrug emoji on this whole thing for a while, but now that we got something to tie, this is a terrible analogy, but like to hang our hat on or tie our horses to in so many words. Now that we actually have something that confirms not only that this thing A exists, but B looks downright beautiful, I'm intrigued. I am not like rolling my eyes at this thing. We'll see if it meets the December 16th release date on which it's currently set, but I'm kind of excited. I want to see what happens with this thing. It's been in development. It's been in development since Bush was in president. So I'm looking forward to see what they can do. Without further ado, Joe, I want you to share what happened in your theater when the Avatar trailer came on.
I went to go see Doctor Strange Thursday night, 6 o'clock showtime or 6:30 showtime. Theater was sold out. I saw it in like it's called the Ultra Screen. It's basically their Dolby theater at the theater I go to, and the trailers came on. First off, we had a Top Gun Maverick 5-minute sneak peek where they played 5 minutes of Top Gun for an audience to go see Doctor Strange, and I was loving it. Everybody else was hating it. So you had that trailer. You had a trailer for some animated movie. I forgot what it was. It wasn't Paws of Fury. It was something else. And I went, okay, well, that's another doozy right there. They played.
I told you it's going to be a rough year for animated movies. Mark my words.
It really is. They played the Lightyear trailer. They played the Thor trailer, and like it was getting like some responses and everything. Like people were laughing and everything. But then we saw a giant tree and blue monkeys running across it, and I never heard a theater go, "Oh my god!" like all collective together. Than just like that moment right there. And it took me by surprise too, because it was the last thing I thought I was going to see when going into movie theater. One, because nowadays we don't get this anymore. The last time I had something like this happen where they actually play a trailer before they released it online was when I went to go see Harry Potter Part 2, whatever the hell it's called, Deathly Hallows, yeah. And they played the Dark Knight Rises trailer before that movie started, and the whole theater erupted when that was happening.
More theaters, or more studios rather, need to take note about this, about how they dropped this trailer.
Yeah, like this was to experience this live, not watching it on YouTube and having some dude with his thumb up his ass like ruin a trailer in the comments below or something,
or do like the 5-second like internet thing.
Yeah,
Avatar 2, and then the real trailer starts. Yeah,
official trailer. Yeah,
like just to be completely caught off guard. Like, oh my god, we're actually about to see the Avatar True trailer, dude. I thought it was gonna be dead before I would see this.
The True.
Yeah. It was amazing. It actually, I think it's what's helping reinvigorate everybody, because Doctor Strange made a shit ton of money this weekend because a lot of people went to go see it, and to see this trailer before then, I think helped reinvigorate people. Like, man, like, yeah, I did go see that movie back in 2009. Holy crap! Like, they're finally making the sequel. Like, here we go. Like, and I think, recently, like, it's been slowly making its comeback. Like Scott Mendelson, yeah, he did say it had left no cultural footprint. I really think it did. It just didn't continue to take that next step to make another footprint. And this is why I think it's starting to do. We had the ride start showing up at Disney. We have a game coming up, and the game looks insane. I remember watching footage of it, and I'm just like, wow, they're going all out with this game, like, around the time the movie's coming out. And now we're finally getting not 1, not 2, but, like, 4 sequels lined up within, like, 2020 onward. And it's just like, yeah, Avatar 2 is about to make its comeback. And I'm not one of these people, because, like, I've been seeing this on Twitter all week. all these comic book fans are like, it's gonna not leave anything. Comic book movies, it's just like, shut up, dude. We can have more than one popular franchise out there. I wasn't crazy about Avatar 1 when I saw it as a kid and everything. I rewatched it recently, and I do have to say, being in that world is awesome. The vibes of living in Pandora, that's a sentence, is really cool. And I think James Cameron does a great job at that. And if he's saying the technology is there for me to take it to the next level to sell you on this world, I am in.
Yeah, well said. And again, I think that whether people are going to analyze it the way we are in terms of the experience factor, the fact that like you specifically, like one of us had a crowd when he saw Doctor Strange too, but at least, you forget that like the collective is seeing this for the very first time. You're not sitting on your couch over here with your hand in a bowl of Fritos watching the trailer for the first time. You're actually seeing it with a crowd of people, and it invigorates the experience. That needs to make a comeback.
People were talking when the trailer ended. They played one more trailer. I don't even know what trailer it was, but they played one more trailer. Feel bad for that movie. And people were just talking still, because there was a little bit of applause when that trailer ended, and you just heard people go, "Oh my god, like it's actually coming out! Did you see? Like it looks amazing. That CG looks great." Like I was like, literally, we talked over that whole trailer up until Greg Marcus came on screen and went, "Thank you for coming to the movies," and then like played the movie.
That is awesome. Dom, any final thoughts or your thoughts on the Way of Water trailer?
Yo, screw this movie. No. I am probably the most cynical out of all of us here, but it is a movie that I have to respect. It brought in the numbers, baby. And when that movie came out, my parents brought me to see it like 3 separate times in a month. I'm not joking. It was a phenomenon. It is a cultural phenomenon that burned bright, if short, but very, very bright. And it's got the numbers to back it up, as I said. It's one that I respect because it is a technical marvel, and it is at the very least, some incredible visual artists are going to come out of here, veterans of their craft.
Yeah.
Just on this, probably just out of this movie alone. And, from someone like James Cameron, who I do respect as a filmmaker, I'm even predicting going in with low expectations, right? Just because I don't like hype. But even if the story is trash or just forgettable, which is kind of what the first one is for me, even if it's basic, even if it's like, damn, you really wrote this like it was 2010, didn't you? Or whenever, like 2 years after the first one came out, didn't you? Yeah. No nuance whatsoever. But I'll be okay with it. I'll dock it on the review, but honestly, what it's doing for the industry, I would love to see a documentary on that. And hey, shout out to the Imagineers at Disney who work at Animal Kingdom. You're finally getting validated. It's like, oh, thank God, we finally have a reason to have this giant Pandora ride that we've been sitting on for the past 10 years with no cultural relevance whatsoever. It might actually have a use for it now. He promised them like 6 movies or something, and they've just been sitting there like, when the hell are you gonna make more movies? Dude, it's when it comes out, I will definitely see it, and so will the rest of the goddamn world. It's one that I will be looking forward to. If one, I'll just be like, okay, I'll be chill about.
You get ready, gents, because come January, Avatar box office stories are going to carry this show. So you get ready for that. Bad or good, it's going to carry this show in the dead month of January and stuff, because that's going to be our last show before Christmas break.
Yeah.
It's going to be Avatar The Way of Water. That's going to be our last show, December 16th, whatever. Yeah, if we do... No, it's going to be tough because of the fact that we usually take that week off. It depends on when Christmas falls to. And we just got Dom unionized again, so he might strike again. We'll have to see here. We will have to see how this shakes out. Might have to do a Monday night special show just to make sure these boys are home for the holidays. But at any rate, that's our show, 7:30 on the dot, an hour in the books. Thank you for watching. Highlights will be posted at stevepulaski.com. Next week, we're tackling Firestarter, this new Stephen King adaptation. And this one's intriguing. I feel like there's not a lot of buzz around this one. There's not a lot of buzz. There has, I don't think the marketing's been as hard than the pain in this one as it was for Pet Cemetery or, of course, It. I just watched the original Firestarter today from 1984 with Drew Barrymore, so I'll probably touch on that next week during the show. But we're reviewing Firestarter, tackling more news next week, same time, same place on this YouTube channel. Again, highlights will be posted here and at stevepulaski.com later in the week. For Dominic Guanzon, we're so lucky to have him back. Joe Viso, we're very lucky to have him. Without him, there ain't no show. And yours truly, the least essential employee. This has been Sleepless with Steve.